morning, everyone. Sage here, and welcome to the Executive Corner Expert Talks by 𝐿𝐴𝐿 TV. And today's guest is Mr. Danny 𝐷𝐸𝐻, who is a podcaster, blogger, educator, and even a retailer, and leads a collective called Elite 6. And in today's show, we're going to learn more about how to get connected and learn some great ways to tour and travel New Zealand as well. So today's show, we have Mr. Danny 𝐷𝐸𝐻. Welcome, Danny.
Well done. You're pronouncing my name beautifully, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I was going to ask you. I'm glad I haven't put my foot in it first off.
Yeah, just go to heck with it, and you've got it sussed.
Okay. Like that. So with your experience in building business partnerships and building up an internet website, which has so much valuable information on it, I'm sure the viewers are keen to hear your insights. So let's get started, Danny. Would you please briefly explain your collective Elite 6?
Yeah, it's a niche little company, and I shouldn't use the word little, but I did. Originally, it was actually a franchise that was getting business people together in small groups, and a lot of people liken us to referral lead generation companies, but we're far more than that. We're all about building relationships with like-minded businesses, and the goal really is to share your experience, knowledge and skills with other members. So when people come along to my networking events, they really are sincerely trying to help each other in business, and then as a force we all help each other. It's not what you know, it's who you know sort of philosophy, really. And I've been doing it for about 8 years. It's a real big passion of mine. So that's it in a nutshell, really.
Fantastic. It sounds great. And it's definitely about keeping connected and talking to each other about what you're doing. Helps you understand it and gains more inspiration, from what I found anyway. So what are the benefits that your clients seek from these virtual workshops that you conduct via your website, please?
Well, one thing I noticed that when COVID happened, I had around about 140 odd people that used to meet face-to-face meetings, and then when COVID happened we all got behind a screen and we started to I'd watch people in these large rooms that I was running, and they'd be drifting off, and it was hard to keep the engagement going. But then I noticed a real point of difference. It wasn't really about their company brand any longer. It was more about their personal brand and about the way they portrayed themselves in front of a camera, the way they dressed, the way they talked, being nice, clear and pronounced. So I see there's a lot of need for personal branding more than the conventional branding that we would have when building a business. So then I sort of changed my focus a lot more to help people making sure that they have all their social media accounts up to speed. When people go to their LinkedIn profiles, that their branding carries through, and just sort of really honed in on people's personal branding rather than their company's brand. As like, even a big company may have their own brand, but when you've got an individual representing that company, they really need to make sure that they've got all their ducks in a row.
Exactly. And the internet's become such a wealth of knowledge, especially for reviews and opinions, and especially in the travel sector. Would you please elaborate a little on what the content is of your podcast and blogs, please?
Well, everyone that's a professional, I believe, should have a podcast. I think that's really important. So I encourage anyone that wants to have a personal brand to have a podcast. So my podcast originally just really started about me having a bit of a rant about things I wanted to talk to, like self-counselling and the like. But one thing I did find really good about the podcast was learning how to use all the tech gear, learning how to use Zoom, and record ourselves, broadcast live like we're doing now, and have the ability to do that, because that's all part of your personal brand. But I think, so my podcast, I've done 101 episodes so far, and there's no real consistency. But one thing I did find of great value for my business network is we used to get about 20 people together, and we used to have a think tank session. And originally, trying to record a podcast with 20 people was just stupid. So when lockdown happened, we could actually get good recording, good sound from 20 people in the same room. So then every Friday morning we'd get together and we'd do a think tank session where we'd come up with a topic, and we'd all have a mastermind class on It might be like building relationships. What's some good ways to get some relationships in our lives? And then everyone would share, would record that as a podcast. We'd visually do a mind map as we went, and then we'd publish that content on the podcast, on a YouTube channel, and also within the 𝐊𝐴𝐷𝐼𝐶 business networking site, so other people could get a lot of benefit from the resource that we created in real time.
Oh, fantastic. I think you're absolutely right about podcasts. It's like the new blueprint for the flying machine. Everyone used to have a blueprint for the flying machine back in the day before the Wright brothers, you know, flew ahead with theirs. And they've been so useful for people to get their ideas out there. But could you please explain one thing? You sell products on your website too. How did you determine which products and what kind of products people would benefit from finding on your website? Because there's so much out there and the options are almost unlimited. What was your process, please?
That's a big question in a short interview. I do a lot of drop shipping. So we actually have around about, we have had up to about 25,000 products online, and then we advertise them. And Google will tell us what products people want, and then we home in on those specific products. So one of our sites was selling...
I didn't understand.
Oops, there goes Siri. One of those products was baking products. So a lot of people were at home and they were looking for baking products. So we delivered those eventually, but the shipping was the problem that we have to deal with even today. So, but I don't know, on my personal brand, I actually have another shop. The problem with drop shipping is it takes so long for people to get the products, and you get a lot of upset clients. But the products are incredibly cheap that they can't help but buy them. So there's a bit of a trade-off. But when you go to my personal branded website, the products I'm selling, I actually have them in stock and can be delivered within 3 days, which is the ideal. So it's just market research, really. If you put 25,000 products online, for example, then you can probably guarantee you'll find out the 200 that sell all the time, and then you basically push them to the front, and that's how you sort of work it out.
Okay, thank you for sharing that with us. So for how long have you been engaged in website development, please?
That's a funny one. I actually been professionally trained as a painter and a decorator. So that's my profession. I left school at 14, doomed to be a tradesman, I thought. And then I worked for an employer as a painter and a decorator and decided to go working for myself. And the parting gift he gave me was a digital diary. And because I'm dyslexic, I found it hard retaining information. So I put everything into this digital diary. And then I thought I might get one of those computers. So I bought a computer. And this was back in 1993. And then I painted this cafe. We started up an internet cafe where people could come in and use the computers. A long story short, a guy taught me enough to make myself dangerous. So then I sold everything I owned. I started hitchhiking around New Zealand as a mobile internet consultant. And I'd charge $300 to set up a website. I'd be scanning brochures, copying word for word, taking photos with a brand new digital camera that just come out. And then I did that from 1993. And I built up a large network of websites, and eventually I formed a company called New Zealand's Information Network, which was a big portal that actually received up to 25,000 individual visitors on a daily basis at one stage in the prime of the internet. And this was probably about 2003, 2004, and then things changed when Google AdWords come into play, and we had to start paying for all our traffic, as you guys probably know.
Yes, I did hear of that. And what a fantastic parting gift, a digital diary. Must have been on really good terms that you went separate ways. And I think it's such a great way to move forward and just take control of what you really want to do in your life. So congratulations on that, Danny, and building up what you've done so far. So what are your near-term goals with your plans?
Well, I admit I'm a clubhouse alcoholic, as they say, but it's a platform where you can go in there and chat to like-minded people. You can find these rooms as an audio platform, which is my forte. And my long-term goal is to really home in on the personal branding and really teach people how to set up their own identity on the internet. You know, so if you go to my website, you'll see that I'm all about me, it looks like, but it is actually about forming relationships with people and letting people get to know you personally a little bit and professionally, and feeling like they can approach you and ask you questions. And I think a lot of other people in business, especially the small to medium-sized businesses, so my main goal at the moment is to keep building my workshops where people can actually learn how to set up their own WordPress website, or they can learn how to set up a Shopify site, or learn how to buy a domain name, learn how to optimize a blog so they get the most out of search engine traffic, and teach people how to do it themselves rather than have to pay these large fees to these website developers who may think they actually can charge like lawyers. You know, so I want to really put it back into the trying to say is give people the knowledge that they need to do it themselves and have confidence to manage their own social media and their own website branding and the like. That's my goal.
That's great to hear that you're out there, because sometimes there's not a lot of guidance when you decide to start an online shop, but yet so many options and decisions to make. So fantastic to hear you're out there, Danny. And you said you were blessed with dyslexia earlier. Very famous people like Richard Branson also, I think, go through the same thing, and must open your mind to various innovations and options that may not be clearly visible to everyone else. Danny, that's great to hear that you're out there, and hopefully the viewers will check out your website after the show. Was there any closing comments you'd like to make before we wind up, and could you please share your website with the viewers?
Sure. The comment I'd like to leave people is I did leave school at the age of 14, as I said, and also I was speaking to another podcaster, 𝐿𝐽Hayward.com. He'll love me saying that. And he has this go-to question when he's interviewing people, and it just starts to get flat. And he says, what weakness have you turned into a strength? And that's honestly how I feel about dyslexia. I feel it's actually my strength. It's because you are forced to think differently. And you don't always reinvent the wheel, but a lot of the time you go out there and think logically how something should be done, instead of conforming with other people, and the way that, you know, I feel like I'm a leader, not a follower, and I think I glean ideas from other like-minded people. So being dyslexic, it's been great, and if you do want to get to know me or check out what I'm doing, or you have got a personal brand, I'm open to meetings. I don't have sales funnels. You're going to talk to me, danny.co.nz if you're a Kiwi, and if you're anywhere else in the world, you can just go to 𝐷HEC.com, and I'd love to you know, hear from you and see what problem you've got, and I'll give you some suggestions how I may come up with an idea to fix it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time today, Danny. I hope you have a wonderful day. And viewers, if you've joined us just now, we just had a very inspirational discussion with Mr. Danny 𝐷EHC, who is a podcaster, blogger, educator, and even a retailer, and who has a collective called Elite 6. You can view the full interview via our YouTube channel, 𝐊𝐶𝐞 Media, sometime today. And please stay watching as we have live market updates and more expert talks for you. And as we say, stay apprised and invest wise with 𝐊𝐶𝐞.